My husband tried to embarrass me during a party, but he had no idea what I was about to reveal. The grand chandelier shimmered above the ballroom, its crystal droplets scattering light like tiny stars over the sea of elegant guests. The hum of polite conversation blended with soft classical piano, creating the kind of atmosphere that could make anyone feel both enchanted and exposed. Amid the throng of perfectly tailored suits and glittering gowns stood Mia, a woman whose simple dress and quietly pulled-back hair made her almost invisible in a room designed to showcase wealth and status. She was clutching a delicate glass of sparkling water, her fingers slightly trembling as she fought the impulse to shrink away into the shadows. Every detail of this evening felt like a test she wasn't sure she could pass. Mia's life was far from glamorous. She worked long hours as a waitress in a small downtown cafe, a job she both cherished and found exhausting. But tonight, at this lavish party hosted by her husband's influential colleagues, she felt as if she were standing on a stage with no script, no rehearsal, and all eyes searching expectantly for her to fail. She caught herself adjusting the simple necklace her mother had given her, a modest silver chain, nothing flashy among the glittering jewels around her neck, and wondered if anyone even noticed the quiet strength it symbolized. Her husband, Greg, stood beside her, impeccably dressed, with a wide smile plastered for the crowd. His easy confidence was the kind of thing Mia had admired when they first met. But tonight, that smile didn't reach his eyes. It flickered with something sharper, almost a challenge. As Greg chatted with his peers, Mia felt the weight of their stares, the small judgments that whispered in the pauses between their words. A few well-dressed guests glanced her way, some with thinly veiled smirks, others with polite but clear disdain. She was the outsider, not quite belonging, an accidental inconvenience at the edges of their world. Then it happened. Greg, catching the room's attention, raised his voice just enough to be heard over the piano's soft notes. "You know," he began, a sly grin twisting his lips, "Mia has always been the queen of surprises. Like that time well, let's just say she's not exactly what you'd expect from someone married into this crowd." Several people turned in their direction, curiosity sparking interest and the faintest shade of amusement. Mia's heart plunged. She knew where this was leading. Greg's voice grew louder, teasing, cruel in its playful tone. "Remember that fiasco at the company picnic? When Mia tried to handle the barbecue grill and nearly burned the whole thing down? Classic Mia, always trying to be more than she is." A ripple of laughter spread through the guests, polite but biting. Mia's face flushed crimson. She smiled weakly, heart pounding in her ears, fingers gripping the glass so tightly it almost shattered. Her mind raced. She wanted to disappear, to plead with Greg or someone to stop this, but no one intervened. The whispered gossip began anew, smart eyes darted from her to Greg and back again, delighting in the spectacle as if watching a play unfold where they knew the lines too well. The more Greg poked, the deeper the humiliation seeped in. Mia could feel 1,000 invisible hands pushing her lower into the sea of their judgment, and her breath caught on the edge of tears she refused to shed. For a moment, she considered fleeing, running out into the night where she wasn't a spectacle, where the crushing weight of expectations and ridicule couldn't reach her. But then, through the haze of shame, a single thought emerged: she was more than their whispers, more than Greg's cruel jabs. There was a part of her no one here could touch, no matter how loudly her husband tried to drown it out. As the night stretched on, Mia stood poised on the edge of a decision, one that might change everything. Would she remain the silent victim of this party, swallowed by their gazes and laughter? Or was there a way to turn this moment of pain into something powerful, something no one here was ready to see? Have you ever felt like the world was set against you in a place where you should have felt safe? The courage to face that moment quietly builds inside, even when it seems impossible. Share your thoughts, and maybe your own story of unexpected strength in difficult places. Mia's heartbeat steadied. The night was far from over, and though no one could predict what she would do next, one thing was certain: this was just the beginning. The room seemed to close around Mia, every polite smile now sharpening into something colder, more calculating. Greg's smirk grew wider, satisfaction lighting his eyes as he watched the ripple effect his words unleashed. Watching Mia scorn was his twisted version of amusement, a way to remind everyone present, and perhaps himself, that he held the power in this marriage, that she was somehow the less-than player on a stage that wasn't meant for her. The sound of glass clinking against plates, the low murmur of whispered comments, all blended into a suffocating symphony that Mia felt pounding inside her skull. Greg's gaze locked onto hers, predatory and gleeful, as if feeding on the discomfort he'd orchestrated. "Come on, Mia," he said, voice dripping with mock encouragement, "why don't you tell them about the time that little mishap that nearly landed you in trouble?" There was nothing subtle in his tone. The insult was wrapped in the guise of a joke, but the sting was unmistakable. Mia's cheeks burned hotter, hot tears threatening to betray her composure. She could feel the eyes darting between the two of them, the cruel anticipation building like a current about to surge. She wanted to curl into herself, to disappear behind the veneer of grace she had tried so hard to wear tonight. But as Greg continued, shaking his head with a theatrical sigh, something inside her snapped, not with fury, but a strange, quiet clarity. The room no longer felt just hostile, it felt absurd. The people here, with their polished appearances and easy judgments, had no idea who she really was or what she had endured just to be here. Her fingers tightened around the stem of her glass, knuckles whitening, and for a moment, she considered speaking up, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she felt her mind retracing the path that had brought her here, from the tiny apartment with peeling paint, to the diner where she scrimped to pay bills, to the nights spent worrying if she'd have enough for groceries. Greg's barbs were aimed at her insecurities, yes, but they couldn't touch the steel she'd forged through every hardship that wasn't visible beneath her modest dress. The laughter around her grew louder, more assured. One of Greg's colleagues, a tall woman with an impeccably styled bob and a pointed smile, leaned in and whispered loud enough for a few nearby to hear, "You'd think someone like her would know her place by now." The words sliced through the air, leaving Mia feeling both frozen and furious. All she wanted was to tell them to stop, to make them see the pain behind their casual cruelty. But instead, she swallowed that fire deep down and forced a polite smile, though her heart drummed a desperate rhythm against her ribs. The warmth on her cheeks was no longer embarrassment, it was something raw and fierce, a quiet oath building inside her that she would not let this be the story they told about her. Greg's laughter echoed through the room, but beneath it, Mia heard a different sound, the steady beat of her own resolve, growing louder with each moment. She knew the night was far from over, that the worst was yet to come, yet within her, a flicker of defiance sparked to life. The guests murmured among themselves, the tension thickening, but Mia's gaze swept across the crowd, lingering on a few familiar faces, those who looked away too quickly, those who glanced with something like pity or shame. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely alone. Have you ever faced an overwhelming tide of judgment or cruelty in a place you had to be? What gave you the strength to keep standing when the world seemed stacked against you? Think about those moments that shaped you. How did you find your courage? Feel free to share in the comments. Your voice matters. The evening's laughter continued, but for Mia, the sharp edge of humiliation began to dull, replaced by determination lurking just beneath the surface. The real test was still ahead, and she was ready, even if no one else could see it yet. As the night deepened, the room's warmth gave way to a chilling solitude that wrapped itself around Mia like a thick fog. The laughter and gentle clinking of glasses no longer felt like background noise but a harsh reminder of her isolation. Despite the crowd, she found herself swallowed by a void where every mocking glance seemed amplified, every whispered judgment echoing louder in the hollow chambers of her heart. Her smile faded, replaced by a heavy weariness that settled deep in her bones, making her feel not just out of place, but truly unseen. She caught her reflection briefly in the polished surface of an ornate mirror, eyes rimmed with fatigue and embarrassment, lips pressed tight to hold back the storm behind them. Greg, meanwhile, continued his effortless parade of jokes and pointed remarks, basking in the center of attention as if fueled by the discomfort he engineered. He seemed oblivious, or indifferent, to the way Mia flinched under his verbal blows, to the toll it took on her fragile sense of self. Every time she opened her mouth to say something, to interrupt or to defend, a wave of doubt drowned out her voice. Was she overreacting? Was it better, perhaps, to simply endure? The tumult inside her was relentless, a chaotic mix of hurt, anger, and the paralyzing fear that this might be her reality from now on. But amidst the storm of emotions, a faint light flickered on the edge of Mia's awareness, a presence both unexpected and quietly steady. Across the room, she noticed Elena, a soft-spoken woman who worked in the catering staff alongside her. Elena's eyes met Mia's briefly, offering a small, silent nod of solidarity before returning to her duties. That simple gesture stirred something in Mia, a reminder that she was not as alone as she felt. Elena, too, knew the taste of invisibility, the sting of being overlooked or dismissed because of one's station in life. Later, in a quieter moment, Elena approached Mia, her voice low and gentle. "You're stronger than you know," she said simply, wiping a stray strand of hair from Mia's face. "Sometimes they think they're winning by breaking us down, but they don't understand how much it takes to get here. And trust me, the world's surprised when we rise." Elena's words were like a balm, soft, honest, infused with empathy that Mia hadn't realized she needed. That night, alone for a brief respite, Mia found herself staring at the ceiling of their modest apartment, the echoes of the party still rattling her mind. She questioned herself deeply. Was she truly strong? Where had that strength been hiding all these years under layers of doubt and fear? But as she thought about Elena's quiet courage and the small victories she'd accumulated throughout her life, keeping the apartment warm, making dinner when she thought there was no food, showing up for work despite exhaustion, she began to peel back the veil of self-doubt that Greg's humiliation had draped over her. The journey ahead was daunting. Mia knew there would be more nights like this, more moments when she would feel diminished or defeated. But now, the solitude was interlaced with a fragile hope that maybe she could find her voice. That she didn't have to be the silent victim. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment she could begin to reclaim her story. Have you ever felt crushed by others' judgments but discovered a spark of hope in the kind words of a stranger or friend? Sometimes, support comes from the most unexpected places. Reflect on who has been your secret ally in tough times, and how they helped you rise when you thought you couldn't. As dawn approached, the weight of the night began to lift slightly. Mia's heart still trembled with uncertainty, but the ember of resilience glowed brighter. This was just a small part of a much bigger story, and she was ready to start writing the next chapter. The following evening arrived with a heavy fog settling over the city, mirroring the dense weight that had been pressing on Mia's chest since the party. The daylight did little to dispel the ache simmering beneath her skin. She awoke with a restless heart, haunted by the memories of Greg's cruel jabs and the cold, judgmental stares that had followed her like shadows throughout the night. But today was different. There was no hiding behind the facade of politeness as before. The facade was already shattered. The truth she kept buried for years clawed at her thoughts, reminding her that the lowest point often reveals the deepest strength. At work, the quiet hum of the cafe's early rush provided a sanctuary from the chaos swirling in her mind. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. Elena was there, already setting tables with a serene determination that Mia envied. When their eyes met, Elena's supportive smile offered an unspoken message: "You're not alone." It was enough to make Mia's resolve solidify, to prepare for what felt like an inevitable storm. Later that afternoon, as the sun waned, Mia returned home to find an unopened letter slipped beneath the door. She hesitated before picking it up, an envelope stamped with the emblem of a local community center. With trembling hands, she tore it open and read the contents. The letter was an invitation to speak at an upcoming event, a gathering dedicated to survivors of hardship, resilience, and transformation. They wanted to hear her story. Mia blinked back tears. The very idea seemed impossibly daunting. To speak openly about the pain, the struggles, the defining moments, wasn't that what Greg and the others had sought to shame her for? Yet now, here was a chance to flip that script, to take control of the narrative herself. That evening, as the twilight deepened, Greg returned home late, his usual confident demeanor faltering when he saw Mia seated calmly at the kitchen table. The air was thick with tension as she met his gaze steadily for the first time in days. "I want you to know something," Mia began, her voice steady but soft. "You don't get to decide my story. You don't get to reduce me to laughter or ridicule. You never have." Greg's face tightened, surprise mingling with unease. Mia revealed a part of her he had never known, the years of silent struggle, the nights she worked double shifts to keep them afloat, the heartbreak she bore without complaint. She spoke of dreams deferred but not forgotten, of deep wells of courage she'd drawn from when no one else believed in her. Her words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered, cracking the walls of the illusion Greg had built around her. The guests, once revelers waiting for gossip and spectacle, now felt the weight of her truth. Those who had laughed earlier at the party looked down, their expressions shifting from amusement to discomfort and, in some, genuine respect. The social power dynamics that had propped Greg's teasing began to unravel as Mia's authenticity shone through like a beacon. "You had no idea what I have lived," she said quietly yet firmly, "and tonight, I'm done being silenced." The room fell into a hush, punctuated only by the soft intake of breath from those who had witnessed the transformation. The man who thought he held all the cards was left speechless, facing the woman he had tried to embarrass with a dignity that couldn't be broken. Have you ever faced moments when revealing your truth felt terrifying yet liberating? When the fear of exposure clashed with the desire for freedom? Reflect on those times you chose courage over silence. How did that change your path? Sharing such stories can remind us all of the power we hold. As the night progressed, Mia's words rippled through the room, touching hearts and minds. The veil of ridicule lifted, replaced by a newfound respect. The story was no longer hers to hide, it was a powerful testament to survival, resilience, and the unyielding strength of the human spirit. For Mia, the journey from the deepest humiliation to this profound moment of revelation had begun, and nothing could reverse the tide now rising within her. The atmosphere in the room lingered with an almost palpable shift as Mia stood tall, her words still echoing softly against the walls where whispers of judgment had once thrived. Greg's usual bravado dissolved into a vulnerable silence, the confidence he wielded like a weapon now halved by the undeniable strength radiating from his wife. The guests, many of whom had been complicit in the quiet cruelty, now found themselves facing a raw and unfiltered truth that demanded acknowledgement. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others nodded slowly, their eyes softened with understanding, a testament to the profound impact of sincerity and resilience. Mia felt a surge of clarity, a moment of triumph that wasn't about dominating others but about reclaiming her dignity in the very place where it had been threatened. No longer was she the subject of whispered jokes or the punchline of Greg's careless humor. The power balance had tilted irrevocably. She addressed the crowd with a quiet fierceness, sharing not only the pain but also the empowerment she had harvested from her struggles, the late nights juggling multiple jobs, the heartbreaks that tested her spirit, and the unwavering hope that fueled every small victory when all odds seemed stacked against her. Her voice, steady yet filled with emotion, connected with those who had once seen her only as an outsider. Greg, now sitting away from the center of attention, grappled with the weight of his actions. The realization dawned painfully that his attempts to belittle Mia revealed more about his own insecurities than any shortcomings on her part. His embarrassment was genuine, underscored by a newfound respect for the woman he had tried to diminish. An apology hung on his lips, unspoken but palpable in the space between them. Mia, however, knew this was not about retribution or reparation, it was about growth and standing firmly in one's truth. As the evening waned, a few guests approached Mia with heartfelt congratulations, expressions tinged with admiration and remorse for their earlier judgments. Elena, with her gentle smile, was among the first to offer an embrace, a symbol of solidarity and healing forged through shared experience. Mia's heart swelled with gratitude, recognizing how moments of connection could reclaim even the most bruised corners of her soul. The confrontation had not only shattered Greg's attempt to embarrass her but also catalyzed a transformation within the social circle itself. It was a reminder that kindness and authenticity have the power to disrupt chains of humiliation and fear. Mia's journey had revealed a vital truth: true strength lies in vulnerability, in daring to reveal who we really are beneath the judgments and expectations. Have you ever experienced a turning point where standing up for yourself changed not only your path but also the perceptions of those around you? How did confronting your challenges reshape your relationships and self-worth? Reflecting on such moments can inspire courage when facing adversity. As the night drew to a close, Mia felt a calmness settle over her, a peace born from embracing her full story and owning her worth. The battle for respect wasn't merely external but deeply internal, and in this victory, she found liberation. The room, once a battleground, had become a space of quiet celebration, a testament to the resilience woven through Mia's spirit and the unbreakable thread of hope that carried her forward. Months had passed since that pivotal evening, and the seasons had shifted, from the sharp chill of winter's end to the tender embrace of spring. Mia stood by the window of their modest apartment, the sunlight spilling over her like a gentle affirmation of the journey she'd undertaken. No longer did she feel the weight of invisibility, nor the sting of whispered judgments. Instead, there was a quiet strength in her posture, a radiance born from owning her story and forging peace within herself. The simple silver necklace around her neck gleamed softly in the sunlight, a reminder not just of her mother's love, but of the resilience that had carried her through the darkest nights. Her life had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The invitation to speak at the community event became a defining chapter, not only for Mia but for many who heard her speak. With each story shared, each tear and smile exchanged, she wove connections that transcended social boundaries, reminding others that humility, courage, and authenticity could dismantle seemingly insurmountable barriers. Friends and strangers alike reached out, sharing their own battles and victories, creating a tapestry of collective strength that buoyed her spirit whenever doubt crept in. Greg, too, underwent his own transformation. The humiliation he once wielded as a weapon had become a mirror reflecting his flaws and fears. With time, apologies were voiced, not just in words, but through actions rooted in respect and genuine change. Their relationship, once marred by imbalance and misunderstanding, began to evolve into something more equitable, more compassionate. It wasn't perfect, and it never would be, but it was real, and that was enough for Mia to believe in the possibility of healing. Looking back, Mia understood that the party, with all its glare and judgment, was less an ending and more a beginning, a catalyst that forced shadows into the light and demanded a reckoning. She had learned that true strength does not come from avoiding pain or humiliation but from embracing vulnerability and choosing to rise anyway. The essence of who she was, her worth, her dignity, remained intact, untouched by the careless cruelty of others. To those who find themselves standing in the shadows, afraid and underestimated, Mia's journey offers a beacon of hope, that the darkest moments can be turning points, that kindness, both from within and from unexpected allies, can ignite the strength to overcome. We all carry within us an internal light capable of illuminating even the bleakest path. Have you ever discovered strength in your lowest moments or found unexpected support when you needed it most? How can your story inspire others to embrace their own resilience? Sharing our experiences creates ripples far beyond what we imagine, ripples that can heal, empower, and connect. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button to join our community. We've got many more tales of courage and transformation waiting to inspire you. See you in our next story.